I think at this stage it's appropriate to look at the Constitution and to look at the precedent which has existed since the beginning of our country's history. And in a circumstance where a nominee of a president is from a different party than the Senate, then more often than not, the Senate does not confirm. So the Garland decision was consistent with that. On the other hand, when there's a nominee of a party that is in the same party as the Senate, then typically they do confirm. So the Garland decision was consistent with that, and the decision to proceed now with the President Trump's nominee is also consistent with history. I came down on the side of the Constitution and precedent as I've studied it, and make the decision on that basis. So I recognize that we may have a court which has more of a conservative bent than it's had over the last few decades. But my liberal friends have, over many decades, gotten very used to the idea of having a liberal court. And that's not written in the stars. And I know that a lot of people are saying, gosh, we don't want that change. I understand the energy associated with that perspective. But it's also appropriate for a nation which is, if you will, center-right, to have a court which reflects center-right points of view, which, again, are not changing the law from what it states, but instead following the law and following the Constitution.
Senator Romney, there's...
I'm not going to get into the particulars of who wins and who doesn't. There are many possibilities that we could go through, but I've indicated that what I intend to do is to proceed with the consideration process, and if a nominee actually reaches the floor, that I will vote based upon the qualifications of that nominee.
Looking back at 2016, do you disagree with your party's decision to stop Merrick Garland?
I wasn't there. I think there's some perception on the part of some writers and others that, gee, what happened with Merrick Garland was unfair. I don't agree with that. I don't know whether you think it was a good decision or not, but it wasn't unfair because it was consistent with history. It was consistent with precedent. It was consistent with the Constitution. So the idea that the Merrick Garland decision was unfair and therefore it has to be made up by doing something which also wouldn't make a lot of sense, which is saying to President Trump, you can't get your nominee either, that just doesn't follow for me.